Okay then, so this is the non-spoiler part 1 review of Darksiders 3. In this review, I will go over the strong points, the weak points, give a general overview of the plot of the game, and give you my thoughts on it. Now, I will be reviewing this game as just a game, not as part of the series as a whole. If you want my thoughts on that, stay tuned for part 2 coming on later today. So let's get to it after the cut. So here I will be going over the general plot of the game. Basically, the game is heavily influenced by biblical ideas of the end of the world. I said heavily influenced, not page for page. Basically, you have the four horsemen of the apocalypse who serve this council that ostensibly is dedicated to the balance between order and chaos. Obviously, you wouldn't have the game if everything followed what they wanted. So there's actually more stuff going on aside from all of that. But basically, you play as Fury, who is the embodiment of anger and rage of the four horsemen. The person you see talking right now is War, who you would think would be the embodiment of anger and rage, but apparently he isn't. So basically, Fury, has been tasked with hunting down the 7 deadly sins and locking their asses back up. That's their job. Of course, there's more to it than that. The important thing about this, and that's the general plot. I'll get into the ups and downs of the game after the cut. So basically, the overall gist of the gameplay is this. The game is essentially kind of like a fusion between a Metroid game and an action-adventure game. That's it. I mean, it's an action-adventure game in terms of the combat. There is a Souls-like mechanic where when you die, you leave behind your currency, which you have to go and pick it up. And if you don't pick it up before you die again, that currency disappears, and then you got to start from scratch. Which isn't that bad because, I mean, I played this game with a cheat on that, like, increased the amount of currency I was getting from defeated enemies. So, yeah. So that's the general gameplay. The big hook of this game is that Fury is particularly squishy, so when you're playing as her, your best bet is to use counterattacks, dodge, and then counter. Right? That's the real meat, bread, and potatoes of the game. Fury isn't particularly, how can I put this? She can't take a hit, so her big thing is essentially whipping the shit out of people. That's her big, her thing. Dodging and countering. So, I mean, that's her big thing. Now, kind of a flaw of the game is that the dodge counter is a little finicky, and you got to get the timing down for every single enemy. And, like, a lot of enemies give you tells when they're about to attack, but some enemies don't. So, and you've got to get the timing down perfectly or you don't get your counter, which kind of sucks. I'm not going to lie. It's not cool that you've got to get the timing down perfectly or, you know, you're screwed. So, that's one of the things that kind of bothers me a little bit. But your dodge counters do massive amounts of damage, a guaranteed critical, and if you do a dodge counter with one of the 4 special weapons in the game, if the enemy is weak to that element, it does even more damage. So you're incentivized to use these abilities. So, which could be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on how you want to look at it. So, that's gameplay. So I'll go over music and art style after the cut. So the music of the game is appropriate for what's going on. It's kind of reminiscent of music from other games in the series. And the art style, they use a lot of assets ripped from other games in the series. Just certain characters look a little bit bigger, more badass than they did before. Or, have been palette swapped. That's the only little bit of non-spoiler stuff I'll give you. So with that being said, I'll give you my overview of the game, whether or not you should get it or not, after the cut. So, should you get this game? Yay or nay? Well, here's what I'm going to say. If you like action adventure games, this game is up your alley. Is it a great action adventure game? Not the best. It's pretty good for what it is, but it's not the best. My only concern with the game is that there are a few technical issues that they'll probably fix over time with patches and stuff like that. Should you pay full price for this game? Well, I mean, I got it on sale for like $40. Well, no, $50 because I got the special edition. But I would not advise people to spend that type of money on this game. But yeah, just spend. If you go on Steam and it's got a good sell, go for it. For those of you who basically need to have letter grades, I would give this game a C+. It's not the best game ever, but it's definitely not the worst. It's okay for what it is. So with that being said, that's the end of the podcast, the end of the video. So yeah, stay tuned for part 2 where I will be going over essentially the spoiler part of the review, where I will basically be going over how I feel about this game in comparison to the rest of the series. So stay tuned for that. That'll be coming up next in a separate video. So thank you and enjoy.